puppet masters pulling strings. We'll strip away the power, hear our piercing scream. Yeah, we won't be silenced anymore. Break free from the chains that they adore. Unrig in the game we rise. We'll bring reality from their lies. Unrig the game, unleash the fury.
Greetings and welcome to Unrig the Game here on a Tuesday night. So I guess we'll get to see Tuesday nights work out for Unrig the Game. Monday nights have been really well for it. I couldn't make it last night, so I wanted to be sure to be here tonight to do Chapter 7, Follow the Money. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're getting close. We're getting close to the end of the book. We're almost there. So thank you guys so much. Again, apologize for not being able to be here last night, but making it up for tonight. All right. Thank you so much, Shelly. Have a great show. Love this book. Yep, it's great. Thank you for being a member for 10 months. One of our solution architects. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Cool Gamer. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Hope you will stick around and enjoy. Yeah, so Chapter 7, Follow the Money. Going to be talking about the money system, how the money comes in. There's some BlackRock talk. I did a little bit of a scan on the chapter, and so we should have just more information to come rolling in about these guys who were out to fulfill their agenda at all costs. Before we get started with the book this evening, you know how it works. We hang out here for a while, and then we go over to the free speech platforms for the beginning of the chapter, and then we do a little bit more at the end. So I found some topics and stuff for us to cover relative to the chapter, or just that are, I think we need to add to the show or add to previous shows. It's all there. What I want to start off talking about tonight is, hey, Daisy girl, how you doing? It's just kind of a chat about election strategy fails and how sometimes we play right into the hands of the establishment, our side, without even realizing it. Just like if I had a louder voice, if I reached more people, I'd really be effective in these times. Because I don't understand why people can't think strategically when it comes to this stuff. Right. And I think if I ever wanted to have a big voice that was out there reaching a broad audience, consistently, like Russell Brand or a Tim Pool or a Benny Johnson or a Steven Crowder, any of these groups, what I'd be screaming about right now, what I'd be screaming right now is shut up. Shut. Be quiet. Stop talking about Biden's age and his decrepit state. We all see it. That's a good thing. We want to run against that. We don't want to run against a replacement. A replacement where we juvenize that base. Hey, Lady Out of Sky, how you doing? Yet everywhere I turn, everybody's talking about the same thing like it's a big win. It's not a big win. It's actually an L. We're going to be taking an L on this if they switch out Biden. So what I don't get, why does it not make sense to everybody else who's trying to win this fight? Oh, you did it again. It's like they're amazed. Like even the mainstream media is turning on them. Duh. Of course they are. We won't shut up about it. We're going to influence the other side. You think what you're gonna do is influence the other side to come over to your side by pointing out how bad off Biden is. No, you're just going to make them realize, which we have, that he can't compete. And now they're thinking of every way they can to get rid of him. Like, how is that going to benefit us? I don't understand where people get this idea that this is a good. Oh yeah, it's going to work. One, if he leaves before, that means Kamala gets to be the first woman president, and what a disgrace she is, right? And two, if he leaves during the running, they can pump somebody else in there. It's going to get everybody excited and cause a close race where they can cheat. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to anybody out there in the crowd who wants to comment to continually point out that Biden is a bad candidate and an easy win for us. Is it a good idea? Who would you rather run against? Someone more difficult? Gavin Newsom, Michelle Obama, some other random throw-in. What about last minute Hillary? I don't know if they're that desperate. I mean, there's a bunch of other people they could throw in there and get a bunch of money behind, get a bunch of momentum behind as just the alternative. Because there's still a lot of dumb people out there that don't see what's going on. And as far as the people on that side go, they'll think, oh, well, this person will do the same thing, or they're all pretty much the same. Blah, blah, blah. It's just like when we do this all the time, like when Biden ran the first time, the ultimate strategy was to focus on his handling of children. I mean, but that was rarely brought up. Had all the evidence in the world, all the clips in the world that you could have just played over and over and over again. Like, I don't know that I came up with it. Somebody came up with Bad Touch Biden, and I saw it, and I was like, that's a great line. That should be his name. I can't remember who it was. Somebody was going around spouting that off at one point, and I was like, I'm with you. I'll do it too. But I think that was before I ever got a chance to I had this channel going. But but man, well, we didn't do it. We tried to go and in the other way. We already know everything he's going to do, every policy he's going to do is going to be establishment globalist oriented, right? We know this already. So whatever he comes out of his mouth, it's either going to be a lie or going to be something that's not good for the country. And that's fine. That's going to happen. He's going to tell his fake stories. He's going to do his fake things and all of his bullshit. It's the same old shit he's been doing for years. Sup with table and all this other stuff. He's same old lines. If we just hammered that image in of him grabbing and sniffing children over and over again for a year and a half solid, he never would have, we would have pulled people over that way. Instead we let him run all over us. We didn't barely mentioned it. Like that would have got through to some people. I'll tell you, I got firsthand experience with that. I showed somebody that stuff and pulled them so far over to the other side they ended up down at the Capitol. So let me tell you, it works, right? The naming would have worked. It would have caught on better than what Sleepy Joe. I mean, they don't seem to get it. And now with this thing that's going on right now, like you don't think that it's a coincidence. Like you think that we really influence CNN and the New York Times and all these other places that are constantly talking about Biden doesn't have it, Biden this, we're going to lose to Trump. But you think that we're influencing them to suddenly come around and realize it? No, they're just realizing that the message about that is becoming effective and impacting their chances on having a close election and then pulling some shenanigans. That's what they're shooting for. Maybe it's just the fact that I've been doing this a long time and I see it so clearly, but I just, you just click through the freaking videos that are out there, then, home screen it. You'll see like tons of videos out there just talking about the same topic. It's like, why are you guys wanting to do that? You say you want them to replace Biden with somebody else that, will actually give us a run. If that's what you want. I mean, what you do is you hang on to that information until he's locked in and they can't replace him with anybody else. Then you go and you steamroll them in the rematch, which we all deserve is the rematch, and the general. But man, right now they know they're working on them big time. I mean, when you see it coming from the establishment media, it's not because they're on our side about it. It's because they realize we're being effective with the message, and now they got to replace them. I just don't understand how these people who feel like they're so base and so understanding about this thinks that this is a good idea. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so, because what I said was when they started talking about it is that they're going to tell us the other side to make a switch, and they're going to start going after them too. And sure enough, that's what they did. And now everybody's like, "Oh, they're going to do this. They're going to do that." You guys are making them do it. Why don't you say that you're instead take the reverse and say, "Oh no, Biden's a formidable opponent. Oh no, Biden's this," you know. Why? And I still understand, like, when you're trying to win something like the presidency, why you would want to take on a harder opponent. Even the left understood this strategy when they went and voted for Nikki Haley. Even they understood it, because they knew Nikki Haley was going to be an easier win for them, despite what the neocons want you to believe. It would have been. He would have rolled. They would have rolled over her, because they just would point out the same things we're pointing out about her hypocrisy, about her warmongering. They could all that stuff. They just would have pulled all that out. They would have just pulled up everything Vivek said in the primary debates, and just used that over and over again with their media machine, and just ran her into the dirt. Let's see. I mean, the last thing you want is them to replace Biden with anyone who will cause them to talk more and get excited about new toys, get more good attention. Yeah. So I'm pissed at all the Biden replacement headlines. My YouTube feed has everyone covering what the fuck is it? It's a distraction. I would have rather seen new border feeds from all the big tubers. Right? That's another way we're playing into it, is by completely being distracted by it. No, let the dude run. He's supposed to be Mr. Billy Badass. So let him run. Let him run. Just stop talking about it, man. I don't understand why nobody's caught on to this. Like, it's just like, I can go super chat the hell out of these guys, and if they even read them, then, who knows what they're going to come up with. And if I can even get the words out right in a super chat. That's what I'm saying. This is one of those times where I wish I had a giant voice and be like, guys, can we just shut up, please? Can everybody shut up? Or at least knew some of these guys behind the scenes and could send a DM. Hey, man, don't you think we should kind of chill on the Biden is too old and decrepit talk? I mean, we're going to end up shooting ourselves in the foot. And now we're just being useful idiots about it, I think. And now I think that that's what they want. So now they're parlaying off of our energy we're putting into it. And they're going to be like, see, even the other side, all these articles, all these people are talking about it all the time. They know. We have to know too. We have to do something now. But I saw one today that said, can we find see, now I'm seeing everything that comes in the New York Times like it's come out of Hillary Clinton's mouth, because I know that she's involved with them now. I know she was an opinion writer for him, but she's actually like on the board, or like has some kind of like bigger power. I tried to look up what it was to make sure I had it right, but I couldn't find anything on it. But I know that I heard that. So now I'm seeing all these headlines about, every day they're putting something out about him and his age. And they're saying, we have to figure out a way to help him retire a hero. That was the one today. So if we don't get to kick his ass again in the election and prove what happened last time was not up to, it's not logos, was not the truth. Trying to think of a way to say this. But yeah, the last time was a fraud. We don't get the rematch. We don't get that. He gets to go out looking like the most popular president of all time, with the most votes of all time, and this fucking epic come from behind. Man, see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? It's frustrating. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's nitpicky. But if they end up recruiting in somebody that actually makes it a closed race, not a landslide like we're looking at right now, we don't get that satisfaction of getting justice for 2020. We don't get that satisfaction of proving that 2020, there was something up with that, without a doubt. Because when it flips like that, and the real numbers come out this time, hopefully without any shenanigans beforehand, or the closest to the real numbers we can get. It'll make people like, what the hell happened? You know, it'll make them realize. Maybe for some people it'll be a moment of clarity, but man, not getting to go up against him again after that cheap steal is very frustrating. It would feel not as good, even though all we need to do is worry about winning it. However, and I hope that we got enough momentum, but man, all they ever want to do is make it close, because then they can do what they did last time. And they made it close because of all the work they did for the 4 years he was in, and the last year of it, which was a lockdown. All the work they did, paid off for them, because they were able to make it close, and then they got their well, I guess we think they did, right? And then they got their all their stuff in without us knowing. And this is the whole part of it. This is why I'm like, man, why don't people get this? It's like they snowed us, and they let us think that it was all good in 2020, but they had something in their back pocket the whole time. So why don't you think that they're doing the same thing now, right? We don't want it to be close. We want them to run Biden. We want them to run Biden, and so, man, it would be great if somebody big time ever listened to my show, got word of this, so this got back out to them. People need to start talking about just shutting the hell up and being like, no, Biden's the one. We got to face Biden. He's the most qualified right now they have. There you go. Just call him the most qualified, and that he's not as bad as everybody thinks. It said, hell, a lot of independents begging everybody to use this info. Hell, Laura Loomer was down in the Darien Gap. JLR investigates, has a film for days. First reporter, and that Oreo. I don't know what you mean, Daisy. I'm lost. You lost me. Hey, we got a $10 super chat. Thank you, Talking Trash and Juice. Here you go. Learn from the past for $10. Talking Trash and Juice, thank you for the $10 super chat. Learn from the past. Make the most of the present. Keep fighting for the future. It's going to be a bumpy ride over the next 8.5 months. You got this. All right. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate the encouraging words. Elephant says, anyone in Texas needs to be aware that the judges for the Court of Criminal Appeals are up for re-election. The judges who would prosecute election fraud, Gina Parker, Lee Finley, and Lee Finley, sure he's from this country. Still like a Scandinavian, and David Shank. Daisy says, I would rather see big tubers using their platforms to list share links of representatives may have people on the run. I don't know. You can pretty much find the representatives' information if you wanted to. See, Glenn Beck did a video about the other day with Paxton. Oh, about the Texas? Okay. Oh, okay. Latin A over there on Rumble. Thank you for the awesome conversation. Thank you. $2 Rumble ramp. I love the Rumble rants. Thank you so much for that. I can't put it up on screen, but I do see it, and thank you so much. I appreciate that. Happy to have you here. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Latin, you guys go subscribe to Latin A. She has a channel on YouTube and on Rumble. Please give her, and definitely help out a Rumble channel too. She's just getting going on Rumble. If you guys have a second, please pop over there, and I'm sure the link will appear in the chat at some point. Please pop over there and give her a follow and a sub on a follow on Rumble and a sub on YouTube. You will be glad you did. All right. I saw one of Beck's chalkboard things. I saved it somewhere. I gotta find it. I was gonna play it. It's really. He's starting to get it. He's starting to get it. I mean, it's like after years of flip flopping around, but there you go. Years of flip flopping around. I don't know about that guy, but he does have some good insight sometimes. He has some good takes. he had the chalkboard out and he was like almost like drawing out like kind of like what I draw, like how mine looks a little bit. It's just in his own kind of version of it, but it was similar enough to where he's almost starting to see it. But he still has great information sometimes about things. He understands the money laundering racket, how that works, how they funnel monies down through the foundations, through the foundations, through NGOs to reach these different groups. He's got that explanation down pat. Thank you, Latin A. Oh, you're Latin Patriot now. Okay. I still know you as Latin A. Latin Patriot. Gotcha. Or is that's your Rumble? Yes. Okay. That's the Rumble. So Latin Patriot 2020. There you go. All right. So I got something here for us. This is kind of kicking off what the show's gonna be about tonight. We're gonna bring back Whitney Webb, very smart lady who's into the crypto and the monetary aspect of things as far as what they're planning to do, has a very good grasp on that and how that's affecting us. And she's got some new information about what BlackRock is planning, how BlackRock is planning to shock the world in this space. And what we're talking about tonight does touch onto these subjects. And we do have, it's kind of a shorter chapter today. It's not as long as usual. But I wanted to go ahead and play that for us first. But yeah, just to say, thank you so much for putting these up. Talking Trash to Drews. Appreciate it. These are all up there. Okay. See, I've been looking forward to this all day. You're on the right track. I do been up you a lot. Useful info here. I'll be sharing you. Thank you so much, Daisy Girl. You rock the house. You do. You guys motivate me to, even on days when I'm like dragging to get in here. I'm sorry I couldn't make it yesterday, and just I've been a little. I have a few little health things going on recently, but I'm back at it. Okay, let me pull this up. Okay. Yes, Daisy is awesome. All right, here we go. Whitney Webb. Let's do this one. Take it away.
My policy tends to be don't trust Wall Street giants.
Hopefully that's not
Powerful on Wall Street. They are pretty cutthroat and criminal because that's how you rise to the top of that particular sphere. Look at how Larry Fink has been behaving over the past 2-ish years.
It just identifies how much money laundering there is being done in the world. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs.
He was known as a big ESG guy, right? And then he openly abandoned the ESG terminology and straight up said that climate finance, green finance, all of that stuff he's involved in is about profits, not about wokeness or saving the planet or whatever. And since then has also 180'd his stance on Bitcoin and has essentially changed a lot of his talking points, which I think is very notable.
Today we have Whitney Webb discussing Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and why we're in for a rude awakening very soon. The recent approval of BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF was only the beginning. As more financial institutions and governments invest into spot ETFs, Whitney points out the underlying plan to use Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a means to control the supply. She discusses why very soon cryptocurrency will be used as a way to destroy the value and privacy that's eluded governments until now. She says we're witnessing the collapse of the fiat money system and why this is unlike anything we've seen in history. While the dollar may be the last one to fall, there's something much bigger going on behind the scenes. Let's get right into the video with Whitney Webb as she gives her prediction for what's coming in the days and weeks ahead.
The first time I really wrote meaningfully about Larry Fink was probably a few years ago in relations to the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, where Larry Fink is a principal. It's like a UN sponsored organization that was co-founded by Mark Carney, former head of the Bank of England and later Bank of Canada, former Goldman Sachs. And also Mike Bloomberg is a big figure there, the former mayor of New York and a well-known billionaire who, started off at Salomon Brothers. So these are essentially bankers developing what amounts to a major component of UN-sponsored policy directly related to their climate change policies. And basically what GFANZ proposes is creating a new financial governance system, seizing what they call the new Bretton Woods moment, basically, recreating the global financial system and also reimagining the multilateral development banks, like the World Bank, the IMF, et cetera, which came out of actual Bretton Woods, right?
evil.
So they want to move all of that into a new paradigm. Larry Fink's been particularly vocal about that. And what GFANZ proposes specifically is merging the members of GFANZ with the multilateral development banks as a way to basically use the same debt slavery model that the MDBs have been criticized for using. But instead of using it to further U.S. empire or the dollar and things of that nature, it's instead the proposal is to use it to create better enabling environments in countries for the green investments of these large financial institutions and asset managers. So it's basically like perpetuating the same model of the MDBs, but having basically Wall Street run it under the guise that it's a planetary necessity. And that we can't get to net zero without this, which frankly, if you look into the explanations for that, there's no way that's the case. But that's, how I first started writing about Larry Fink was because of his involvement in this relatively open plan to create a new financial system, which among other things, doesn't just rest on the MDBs, but also on the development of global carbon markets, which comes up in this particular piece in a pretty meaningful way. Well, Larry Fink is someone who's obviously a member of the elite, and he's also a person who throughout his entire career has been pretty obsessed with risk management. So I think, whatever this new financial system is, it's that he is, part of this group that's proposing this, ultimately is about trying to enable BlackRock to continue its massive expansion to own, essentially everything with, as little risk to them as possible, which obviously a lot of the stuff that Fink is pushing for is part of this broader a system that the world's being pushed into under the guise of sustainable development that includes things like digital IDs and carbon markets and all of that, setting something up where it's will be very difficult to challenge BlackRock's financial prominence and dominance, really, and anything that Fink and others would view as a risk to, their current trajectory, I guess. They don't really have to worry about people or movements like that as they enter into and sort of impose upon us these new systems, which includes, some of these forms of digital control, like the CBDC and their private sector equivalents, for example, programmable surveillable money, and, tied into the digital ID thing. All of this, as is noted in the article, is meant to interface with global carbon markets and the multilateral development banks that Fink has been targeting in particular through GFANZ and also BlackRock itself has been pretty focused on them. They're seeking to, the World Bank is developing climate wallet functionality and a lot of this other infrastructure on which global carbon markets would rely, and are also attempting to become the main data storage for the digital ID system as well. So a lot of big moves are being made through these institutions for part of this new global financial governance system, as GFANZ calls it.
Webb warns against the entry of powerful financial institutions like BlackRock into the Bitcoin space, saying this is definitely a negative development in crypto. She asserts that these institutions are set to control a significant portion of the cryptocurrency supply, and emphasizes the importance of resisting this obvious influence on the market.
Larry Fink, among other things, is on the board of trustees of the World Economic Forum. And I think the World Economic Forum is misunderstood by a lot of people, and people use certain terms to refer to what they are and what they do. But ultimately, what that group is about advancing the public-private partnership model. And of course, there's two sides to that, much like there is in the prevailing left-right paradigm of most countries' politics. And, you know, for a long time, they've leaned sort of on the public side and used talking points that are meant to appeal to the political left. And have gotten a lot of pushback as a result. And so if you notice, people like Fink, but other people as well, have moved their rhetoric away from those seeking to appeal to the political left in the public side of the public-private partnership, leaning into the private aspect of the public-private partnership and having more right-leaning talking points. But ultimately, all are trying to lead you to the same exact system of digital ID, programmable, surveillable money, and global carbon markets. And I think, you know, the carbon market in particular, it's sort of hard to extricate that from the climate change, you know, situation. But I think it looks like, you know, people like Fink and some of the people in that particular space are going to attempt to market it as something that can make people very wealthy or allow them to get quick access to capital by tokenizing their land holdings and like fractionalizing their private property, using different things that haven't been able to be financialized before, and then bringing that on chain and using that as collateral, receiving loans that way and all of that. There's a lot of ambitious plans in that particular space. And aside from that, there's been this push led by the Rockefeller Foundation and some other groups through this whole push for natural asset corporations, where they basically openly talk about the idea to expand the amount of assets in the existing financial system by like 5 or 6 fold by incorporating what they refer to as natural assets. So this is sort of like the financializing of the natural world and turning, allowing people to sell ecosystem services and all of that. And, you know, this is part of the broader effort to usher in a global carbon market. So anyway, I think it's interesting that there's a lot of this shift going on. I think it's a big part of why someone like Javier Milei was given the main stage at WEF and then openly praised by the WEF that he was, the WEF elites that he was supposedly scolding in that speech. They very much embraced, you know, Milei's vision, and we're like, yeah, we should have the private sector lead the public-private partnerships and all of that. But ultimately, the public and the private, as represented within the WEF, agree about the plan. Maybe there's, you know, how it's implemented or how it's sold to people. Maybe there's differences there, but ultimately they agree about where we're going in terms of like digital ID. You know, a global ledger and all of this stuff, programmable, surveillable money, whether it's private sector issued or central bank issued, you know, ultimately the end results are somewhat the same, but there's an effort to sort of change the sales pitch. I just want to sort of underscore the idea that there's a historical precedent, specifically in the US, for when they attempt to like pitch a particular policy or create a particular entity, if it gets pushed back as being openly part of the government, they privatize it and then no one complains. People, you know, think because of the rhetoric that, oh, this is, you know, everything's being handed back to the free market. But these companies, Palantir being an example, you know, that was set up with state involvement, CIA involvement. Right. So it's not really the free market. It's cronyism. It's crony capitalism. It's cartelism. And so with someone like Milei being like, yeah, I'm going to hand stuff off to the private sector, it's not like it's going to the Argentine private sector. It's going to foreign members of a global banking cartel that includes some of the biggest institutions on Wall Street that have a verifiable documented history of corruption.
Webb foresees a looming economic catastrophe driven by collapsing fiat money systems, rampant inflation, and bank failures. She suggests transitioning to a Bitcoin standard as the world grapples with the impending crisis. She asserts that the promises made by the Federal Reserve and central banks have been hollow, leading to excessive money printing and a proliferation of poor investments. And with the aftermath of the recent inflation surge, Webb says this will not lead to a return to the status quo. What do you think about her prediction for Bitcoin and where we're headed in the first half of 2024? Comment down below.
There you go. And some of these topics will be covered tonight. I do kind of have one more for us in the pre-show here on all platforms before we head over to the free speech platforms. Is those links are pinned in the chat and in the description. So when we do make the the jump off, you guys will be able to follow us over to the free speech platforms. All right, let me get the next video up here. It's kind of a throwback. I think we've probably covered a little bit of this, but I wanted to bring Seamus back up for a quick little reminder about oh yeah, here it is. A quick little reminder about the Controligarchs. Okay. Let me get this straight here. And then after that, we'll be heading over to start our reading. Man, we're almost to this book too. We're all the way up to chapter 7. Of course, all the chapters are over on Rumble, so you can catch up on the full book and the episodes that are over there can unrig the game. And then coming up soon, we're going to have to decide what book to go next. So I'm researching some of the books now to read next. I got a couple ideas, but it's just a matter of which ones can be read. Have a reader with it. So I'll have to find out, and then I'll let you know. All right. Let's pull this guy up here. And let's bring in Seamus Bruner, who is the author of Controligarchs, in case you didn't know, in case you're joining us for the first time. To give you a little insight into him. Here we go.
I want to read a quick excerpt from the book where you write, COVID presented great opportunities. Schwab identified at least 5 major opportunities that COVID presented. First, the world could redefine the social contract to be more inclusive. Second, the pandemic could be used to decarbonize the economy. Third, everything that can be digitalized must be digitalized under something that Schwab termed the 4th industrial revolution. And companies could use the pandemic to rethink their profit motive and transition to a new system called the stakeholder capitalism, which we just broke down for us. And of course, the Great Reset also meant more global cooperation or global governance. One of the things that is key to the implementation of this, as you highlight in the book, is the Young Leaders Forum, the World Economic Young Leaders Forum, and they're amongst the most powerful people in the world.
Yeah, one of those people too are Gavin Newsom. No, did I get his name right? Yeah, the guy from California that they want to possibly insert instead of Biden. Just FYI there. Much more popular, much more likable, much more formidable in a general election. And of course, firmly on the side of and in the pocket of the WEF. There you go.
Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, Palantir's Peter Thiel. That was quite surprising to me that Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal, was a young leader. The founder of Wikipedia, Jimmy Wales, the Rockefeller Foundation president, Rajiv Shah, the co-founder of YouTube, Chad Hurley, just to name a few that are part of this World Economic Forum Young Leaders ensemble. Break that down for us a little bit more, how that helps shape the vision.
Certainly. So the World Economic Forum is a powerful organization, and if they tap you to be a member of their Young Global Leaders Club, the YGL club, a lot of people will take them up on it. It will advance your career, but it really shows that the alliance to the globalist vision starts at a young age. I mean, these people, some of these people were not very powerful when they were named to a young global leader, and once they become that, they kind of, the doors open to them. And from corporations who are members of the World Economic Forum, they'll be more likely to hire a young global leader. They'll be more likely to support a candidate running for office if they've been a young global leader. And so prior to maybe the pandemic, this would not have, it's kind of become a toxic brand now in a lot of ways. So if you're running for office and it suddenly comes out that you were a young global leader, people will be immediately suspicious of your allegiance, whether you're allied with the country or whether you're allied with Davos. But prior to the pandemic, I mean, the World Economic Forum was not a very well-known organization. And so a lot of people became these young global leaders, and now they can't really shake the brand.
Yeah.
Like Tulsi Gabbard will, for example, in America, will have to answer questions, or There's some senators who were young global leaders who have to answer questions about it. And they probably wish they weren't young global leaders.
Yeah, I think Senator Tom Cotton is one of the senators that you mentioned in the book, and his general ideology does not seem to be aligned with what you would expect from the World Economic Forum. More on that, you write in the book that the World Economic Forum has declared a bold agenda among its ambitions: the abolition of private property and personal privacy, the elimination of fossil fuels, a global transition away from animal protein to an insect-based food system. You'll owe nothing, the World Economic Forum has famously assured, ominously adding, and you'll be happy. So as we've discussed, it's been very open about what it wants to do. Why are these their agendas?
Yeah, it almost sounds like a threat, doesn't it? You will own nothing, but you will be happy. Like, you don't really have a choice here. Yeah, they don't believe in private property ownership. Klaus Schwab doesn't. I mean, they want to bring about a renter-based economy where you don't own your house, you don't own your car. They think it's a brilliant and lovely idea, but most people don't want to be a renter for life, paying someone else's mortgage in a property owned by BlackRock or Blackstone. And effectively what that looks like is it's a paywall around your entire life. I mean, like you get to a website or something, you hit the paywall. That's not so fun. They want a subscription-based lifestyle. And you see it like member corporations of the World Economic Forum, they've really adopted this subscription model type business model where like Mercedes and BMWs, if you want to access various features on the vehicle you're driving, I mean, you've already paid for the vehicle. But if you want to have the remote start function for the vehicle, you have to pay an extra $10 a month. If you want heated seats, you have to pay another $5 a month. So you can quickly see how it gets out of hand.
Right.
And like, I mean, you won't be able to afford nice things. And they're kind of seemingly on board with that.
Well, I mean, arguably you can say that that's a revenue model, right? Continued revenue stream once you sell the car to, maintain, as I say, revenue for the company. But in terms of what the World Economic Forum says is the overriding premise, I mean, they sort of put this under the umbrella of trying to protect the planet, right? I mean, isn't that sort of the overarching theme, that it's all for your own good? It's actually quite benevolent, and we're doing this to preserve and protect the environment and the planet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who could be against protecting the planet? I mean, I don't think anybody wants to kill the planet or to hurt the planet in any way. And that's why it's an unassailable mission, unless you have the facts. And the facts are that these are not about saving the planet. I mean, whether it's the electric vehicles or the lab grown meats. I mean, both electric vehicles and lab grown meats are much more carbon intensive than their natural equivalents. Just ask farmers. I mean, nobody knows how to be sustainable better than a farmer. They've had the farms in their families in some cases for generations. They know about resource exhaustion that would kill their business, so they don't want to exhaust resources. Nobody knows sustainability better than farmers, and yet they want to put the family-owned farms out of business and use the more carbon-intensive type farming practices. So, if you just a little bit of scrutiny, and you can see these guys aren't about saving the planet. It's, the obvious headline that happens every year around Davos is, look at them flying on their private jets.
Right.
They're, they don't have to fly on their private jets. They could use Zoom and Skype like they forced the rest of us to do.
Or fly
during the
commercial,
pandemic.
heaven forbid. Or they could fly commercial.
Totally. Exactly right. And they have already, written in exemptions, I believe in the UK or in Europe, where private jet travel will be exempt from like net zero and Agenda 2030 restrictions. So of course, it's always going to be rules for thee, not for me, when you're talking about people like Klaus Schwab.
Right. And again, in your book, you detail the war on farmers, how Bill Gates has been buying up much of America's farmland, the agenda there. So I really encourage our viewers to read the book to get the detail. But I bring it back to digital IDs and the DPI system, because it seems to be such a central key to implementing much of this agenda in terms of the control that you can exercise once you have a digital ID linked to a digital central bank currency. So help us understand what this universal or digital ID entails. What does it look like? What kind of information would be in it? how would it function within the broader system?
All right. Little flashback there. Cool. So yeah, so for those of you who just may be joining us for the first time on the show, that's Seamus Bruner, the author of Controligarchs, the book we are reading. And we will be diving into many of those topics tonight in chapter 7, Follow the Money. Cool deal. Well, I appreciate everybody that came over to help us kick it off here on YouTube. I hope that you guys all have Rumble accounts or a X account and you like to watch on either one of these platforms, because now we're going to make that jump over to the free speech platforms, because unfortunately they won't let us play Controligarchs here on the YouTube side, but even though I purchased the book and and all that, but they still won't let me play it. So, you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with these people? Tomorrow night on Unveiling Reality, I'm gonna have a pretty sure the show's gonna be about. Now I could change the show up if I get this one person to come on. I haven't heard back from them, so that may change at the last second. But it's gonna be about mass censorship. I got a nice interview with Tucker Carlson that just came out. It's going to run down exactly this election year censorship. So we're going to be looking at this mass censorship that's going on, some things to expect, and we'll be diving into the censorship issue among other ones tomorrow night on Unveiling Reality, 8 p.m. Eastern, and look forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun and very informative as well. So let's do this thing. There's Mimsy. Hey, Mimsy, how you doing? You're just in time. We're getting ready to head over to Rumble to start reading. So hopefully you will be able to join us over there at some point. But thank you so much for being here, Mimsy. Always a pleasure when you come to the show and we have you with us. All right, guys, it's that time. Free speech platforms, here we come. YouTube, see ya.
Man, everyone's tensed up for a Rumble.